These are your official sector trends. Richie, should I use this camera? Yeah, that's the one. Oof. All right. You're watching Metropole Television. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Join us online at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. You can actually get in touch at Kiage Simba on Twitter. We're right into the conversation, and this is that point where we get to tell you exactly what is trending in the different sectors and the industries of the economy. And this morning we speak real estate and I introduce you to a concept that you've known, but what do you know about it? Good. All right. Now, live, work, play communities and a new concept, formerly known as mixed-use developments. They are rooted in the idea that people are happier living in a neighborhood that provides for most of their needs. These communities are no longer exclusively limited to city centers. They are now popping up in suburban areas to mimic the conveniences of city life. Today, we focus on this work and play concept in the real estate sector. Joining us this morning is Marvin Elly, who's a project manager, Superior Homes Kenya. Marvin, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Elijah, and your viewers. I'm very happy to enlighten us on live, work, and play concept.
Fantastic, Marvin. We are also happy to have you around. So let me get into that first question. Has the live, work, and play concept gained traction in Kenya yet? Let's begin from there, Marvin.
Okay. Elijah, this concept is not new to Kenya. The developers who have already kickstarted this concept. And as you mentioned, it's basically mixed-use development. We are looking at communities or developments that are able to accommodate residential, commercial, and the social aspect of life of everyone. So just to make it in a way that most people will understand, you're looking at a community or a development where you can basically stay in it as a residential tenant. You can probably work within the same development and your kids or your family have the free space of also having some entertainment or some activities such as playgrounds and things like that within the development.
Yes.
So these developments are already in the country. It's not a very popular concept, but I think it's the way to go for most developers right now. And maybe as we discuss further, we'll discuss even the challenges that this type of development is experiencing and why it's gaining traction and maybe the things that are slowing it down.
Pretty much. So now, yes. Marvin, for someone who's listening you this morning, is this a concept that cannot be realized within the city? Is it growing outside the city? Because when I'm listening to you this morning, I would say it needs space for you as a developer to express your development.
Yes, the live, work, and play actually I think it's the most ideal concept for urban centers because of limitations of space and land.
Yes.
If you can have a development that can accommodate all these aspects of real estate, all these aspects of community living within one space, then it's even providing a better use of the land that we have within the urban centers that is very limited.
Yes.
So basically we are moving away from the old school type of development where we have residential sections of the city and those estates are just exclusively residential. Now we are moving to an aspect where we are integrating both commercial and residential within same spaces within the urban areas.
I like the way you say that we're moving away from this older way of looking at how you come up with developments within the city now or in the urban areas in the country. Would you say then that everybody's talking about how the real estate sector has not been really performing? Could you put it down to us sticking to the old ways of doing things? And do you think this mixed living, the work, live, and play sort of concept is the one that is going to unlock the performance of this specific sector in 2021 onwards?
Yeah, basically, what I would say about that is that futuristically looking at real estate, the live, work, and play concept is the way to go. Reason is with the kind of growth that we are having,
Yes.
I think people want to spend less time on their cars. So basically, if they can have the convenience of doing almost everything within one environment, then basically you're trying to serve the need of those guys, and you're serving their pain point. And the pain point is that we want to use our time in a more useful way, rather than spending it on traffic and commuting from one place to another. So the developers or developments that are going to target the ability of people to basically stay in one location and possibly work within that same location are going to be the developments for the that as a developer, you have to find the pain point for your targeted clientele and
Yes.
try to address it. Yes, and if you look around, I think most developers are already doing that. Most of the master planned estates or gated communities that now are coming up, you'll find they have aspects of residential, commercial. Basically, they do a bit of retail within the same development. They provide for the playgrounds for kids, because again, in community living, people want their kids to be safe as they are playing outside their homes. And office spaces are also coming up. So even it's just not about the master planned communities. Even in apartments, you'll find the lower floors probably are accommodating shops. The middle level floors accommodating a restaurant. The upper floors are residential. It's a concept that almost every developer is now looking at. And as I mentioned, it's even better use of space for a developer. Yes.
Pretty much. So let's look at Superior Homes, Marvin, this morning, and look at some of these concepts that give you the confidence that indeed this is the way to go. Do you offer this kind of concepts at Superior Homes? Which ones are those? Will you point out one so we can actually look at it and then say, wow, this is indeed the way to go then?
Yeah, for Superior Homes, I think we are pioneers on this concept. We've incorporated almost in all our developments,
yes,
the residential ones that we've done. I think I'll use the example of Green Park Estate along Mombasa Road. Green Park Estate is a gated community with various types of residential houses, from semi-detached bungalows and villas. Within the Green Park Estate, we have a school, both kindergarten school and an upper primary school. We also have a retail development that's now coming up that we are set to complete by next year, May. So we are already integrating this concept. And basically, when you live within Green Park, then we are basically saying that you can own a shop within the retail center or the retail facility at Green Park. Basically, that will be your workplace. You can take your kids to school within schools that are within the estate. And you basically have a home here as well. And we also have a lot of playgrounds for the kids to and it's a safe place to basically stay with your family and adopt that live, work, and play concept.
Yes, which therefore, yes. And I'm sorry to cut you short there, which therefore introduces me to my next question, because I've been there, I've actually been in the development myself, I've covered it, I've really spoken to a lot of you guys on it. That introduction that we did there, that in the suburban areas, would you say that this sort of concept would thrive better in the suburban areas as opposed to just right within that urban area?
Within the urban areas, actually, I think the concept is also picking up. If you look at areas like Kilimani,
yes,
Kilimani is almost within CBD, because right now CBD is growing towards Kilimani. And most developers who are putting up the high-rise apartments, they are trying to incorporate the live, work, and play concept. Basically, within the urban area or closer to the CBD, the space is very limited, and therefore you have to try to almost incorporate everything within one development, yes, or one apartment.
Yes.
So you'll find that most of these developers that are developing at that area of Kilimani are trying to adopt a high-rise building where they have they have basically segregated it into various categories based on floors.
Yes.
So the main challenge that they'll have, they mostly have there is ability to find a playground for kids. And you know, kids are always assumed out of the equation when people are developing. But if you're going to build a residential area, then you have to factor in the kids and constrict them to playing within some balcony. So you'll find even the developers that are developing in those areas that are closer to the CBD are doing suspended pools on the roof, just to basically try to accommodate everything within one development.
Yes.
So it's something that right now is providing better use of space, especially with the limited resources of land.
Yes, but
Yes.
what is this profile of this customer who's going to look at real estate from this perspective? Early this morning, who's going to say, I have to go to a live, work and play setup? Is that what majority of the real estate customers are now?
For real estate clients, especially the ones with families,
Yes.
They want to. They are the ones who are mostly attracted to this concept.
Yes.
Especially if the young families, there are those real estate clients that are a bit, in terms of how they look at things, they are still very old school. And one of the main challenges that we have is that most people try to focus on, we want exclusivity of residential areas. Because now the issue with mixed use development is that now you'll have issues to do with noise and pollution, especially now. Let's say you are within a development that maybe has some commercial use. So the people who are more conservative will still look at the old residential aspect of living exclusively. But now with the younger generation that is coming up, with the younger families that are coming up, they are more diverse in their views in terms of how they look at living. And for them, it's the convenience that the live, work, and play environment offers. So the younger families and the clientele that is basically young in terms of growth and youthful will be looking at mixed-use development with a very keen eye.
Yes. Marvin, this is another question as well on that particular area. Since we're talking about this working in the urban and suburban areas, I do know your company as well is piloting this somewhere else as well. Is it a possibility now that we will say that this concept could also work somewhere else, probably in the smaller towns in Kenya now, since it looks as if it's a one-stop solution to anybody who wants to own a home and not having to think about where it is and what is surrounding that home, because then you tend to answer all your questions in that particular area. Is this possible somewhere else other than the major towns and cities in the country?
It will be possible with time, but right now, if you look at the purchasing power of real estate,
yes,
most of it is centered within the urban areas. But people are trying to grow outside the town, and let's also not forget that the likes of Konza City, Tatu City are trying to provide the same concept of live, work, and play. So it's moving to the counties, because like Tatu City is in Kiambu County, Konza City is in the border of Makueni and Machakos and Kajiado. So it's moving to the counties, but it won't move as fast as we will want it to move, because if you look at the purchasing power of real estate, is mostly concentrated within the major counties, and those are the metropolitan counties of Kajiado, Nairobi, Nakuru,
yes,
Kiambu.
Yes.
Right now, as Pilons, we have moved to Mombasa, because Mombasa is also is our second largest city, and to provide that kind of concept, we've moved to Vipingo Ridge. Vipingo Ridge is a master plan in Kilifi, and Spirums are now doing a development there known as Pazuri. Pazuri is also going to provide the same concept of live, work, and play within the same development. So most of the master planned communities are incorporating both the retail aspect, the residential aspect, and offering spaces for kids to play around.
Yes.
But as I mentioned, at the county levels now, we have places like Tatu City, that are trying to provide the same concept of the ability that you can stay within one place, have industries within the same community, and basically integrate all those aspects into one development.
Pretty much. Now, Marvin, I mean, what we've seen when we got into the coronavirus pandemic season, or should I say since 2020, is that different sectors and industries really had to take bigger lessons on how to move forward. In fact, we've had different sectors that have had to reshape and rethink their models of doing business. This particular concept, Marvin, in relation to the pandemic, does it answer the questions that the real estate sector was faced with during the pandemic?
Yes, if you look at it from that angle, then you have to look at it from the angle of the pandemic basically made us change the way we live, and we were trying to avoid a lot of movement.
Yes.
We were trying to be in places where we don't really step very far away from our homes, and the pandemic in a way was it made the sector be viewed in a better way. So onset and that the need for people to seclude themselves and be within their homes and like that basically made the concept more attractive.
Yes.
So if there was the availability of these developments in mass such that more people are able to stay within those developments, then it will have probably provided a better relief for guys who are trying to stay away from a lot of movement. So assuming you are staying in a master plan and you are able to do your work within the same master plan, if you are a businessman, then you have your business set up within the same development, then you are trying to avoid that aspect of trying to move across several kilometers to go to town or go to anywhere else to do your work. So for me, I will say the pandemic made this concept even make more sense to a lot of guys who are interested in real estate. So I wouldn't take it from a negative perspective. I will take it from a positive perspective. It changed the way we live. It changed the way we think, and the concept of mixed-use development, therefore, answers the questions that the pandemic posed to us.
Pretty much. All right, Marvin, I can't let you go without really asking you to give us pointers of exactly where the real estate sector is headed. I mean, we've been in a correction phase since 2018. When do you expect that this phase is going to end, Marvin? And what must happen in between here for us to see this correction phase end for the real estate sector?
For the real estate sector, I think even if you look at the data that was released by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the construction sector was one of the sectors that is already on the way of rebound.
Yes.
And that's driven by the construction if you look at the material purchases that were done over the last 1 year during the pandemic.
Yes.
Most developers have focused their attention on putting up developments, especially at this time when people are distracted. Remember, when people are distracted, that's the best point to always set pace and move ahead of your peers. So looking at the vaccination drives that the government is promoting, within the next 6 months or so, most economies will be back to their normal operations. And if you look at it also from an aspect of guys trying to look for second homes, with the lockdowns, most guys experience a lot of inconvenience. So guys are trying to look for second homes in places like Naivasha and areas around outside town, such that next time such a thing happens, it may not be Corona again, but it may be any other pandemic. Guys will be able to probably have homes outside town. So in cases of lockdown, you are somewhere with a home in Vipingo Ridge, overlooking the beach, or home in Naivasha, overlooking the lake. So the aspect of guys trying to look for second homes outside their traditional homes within the major town is something that's going to be very popular going forward, especially after the things that people experienced with the COVID-19 pandemic. So For us, real estate sector is rebounding. It's already on the rebound since early this year. I think from next year, probably the election may have some effect on it, but looking at it just from a pandemic perspective, we are getting back to where we were, and that aspect of people looking for second homes is basically going to drive growth outside Nairobi.
Pretty much. Marvin Elly, Project Manager, Superior Homes or Homes Kenya, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Metropole Television.
Yes, thank you, Elijah, for giving me this opportunity.
Anytime. Fantastic. Now, take a short break, but once we come back, top on the issues that we have for you on our economic review. Something is going on at the Cooperative Bank of Kenya. We'll be telling you what that is, and the government continues to bail out more state-owned enterprises. What does that mean for Kenya's debt portfolio? Because we do also know that indeed in the financial year 2022-2023, which is not very far away, KQ and KPLC are waiting for Treasury to bail them out. Once we come back here on a business end.